Hello everybody, it's JR from iTechNet, and welcome to one of my first videos. So, to be honest, this is probably the third time I've recorded this. I'll just let you know I'm not a video editor by trade, nor do I know what I'm doing. So, let's all struggle together. So for this first video, we're going to actually build a TAK server, or I'm going to show you how I build my TAK servers, or any TAK server that I generally build. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to go to TAK.gov. I've already registered for an account, but if you have one, go ahead and log in or register for an account here. Once you've registered for an account, let's go ahead and get our installers. So we're going to go to TAK server, and we're going to download two files. We're going to download the TAK server public GPG key and the installer. For this one, we're going to use Rocky 8.10. So we're going to download the Rocky, RHEL, and CentOS RPM here. And if you don't already have, go to rockylinux.org, select download, make sure you set Rocky Linux 8, and download that. Okay. Once you have that, what I have here is a virtual machine that I've already pre-installed, or at least staged, and I've given it the minimum resources. So I gave it 8 gigs of RAM, 4 processors or virtual CPUs, and 40 gigs of storage. Now, this 40 gigs of storage, change that to what you need, but for this demo, we're only going to use 40 gigs. Additionally, in my installations, I use a minimum install, meaning I do not put a graphical interface in my installations. Makes it a little bit easier for me to manage. However, if you need to, you can do this server with the GUI. We will be doing a lot of our commands in the terminal or command line. So for this, I will keep it at a minimum install. Additionally, I have already set a user and I've already done my partitioning and networking. So I'm going to go ahead and begin the installation, and I'm going to go ahead and pause and resume the video once the installation is done. So I will see you all then. All right, welcome back. Seems our installation is complete, so let me go ahead and reboot that. While that was going, I went ahead and downloaded the files and I placed them in this directory. So while our server is booting, what we need to do is we need to copy these files from Linux to Windows. In order to do that, you're going to hold left shift and right click. You should get a couple options, open in terminal and open a PowerShell window here. Either one will do, so let's go ahead and open one. And what that's going to do is going to put you in that current working directory. So that's the directory you're in. Let me zoom in a little bit. All right, put that in the background. So back to our server. Let me go ahead and log in. And if your network does not do DHCP, we'll need to set the IP address manually. So if you don't know, you can actually type in IP ADDR for IP address, and you'll notice that mine has an IP address already. If yours does not, you will need to type in sudo nmtui and enter your password again. And from here, you're going to go to Edit Connection. Go ahead and go to Edit using the arrow keys, press Enter. Scroll down to IPv4 configuration, change that to manual. Additionally, scroll and click Show and enter your IP address. So 192.168.186 with a / and the notation. Additionally, you will need to go down to Gateway and enter your gateway. From here, DNS servers, and go ahead and apply that. Okay. Additionally, what I do is I go to Activate Connection, click Enter, and to reset that connection. We're going to go back to Quit. Okay, and we can verify that my address is here, and we could do some simple network checks. And we see we have network connectivity. Let me go ahead and clear that. And now that we have our IP address, I'm going to go ahead and copy these files over. So I'm going to use the secure copy command. Going to be SCP. I'm actually going to select all of them because I want to copy both the RPM and the key. So I'm going to use Shift 8 to put the asterisk or star. And I'm going to send it to my destination, which is the TAK server. So I'm going to put my account at the IP address. Oops. And then what I'm going to do is colon and this little squiggly line that's right next to the 1. So hold Shift and that, and then a forward slash. And what that's going to do is actually copy all the contents within this directory to the destination server under this login in this directory and this path. If I hit enter, whoops, I need to actually remove the last demo I did. So let's go ahead and do that. And if you get that, that's fine. You can go ahead and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete my SSH folder. So let's go ahead and try to copy these files again. Select yes. Now I am typing in yes, it will not show. And then enter the password, and that will begin copying over the files. If we go to our server and type in ls or dir for directory, we will notice that the files are being copied over. While these are copying over, what we need to do is we need to edit the prereq, or not really edit the prereq, but add a value to our limits.configuration file. So first thing is we're going to do sudo vi, so vi is a text editor, /etc/security /limits.conf. And once I hit that, I'm going to use the arrow keys or scroll all the way down to the bottom. I'm going to add 2 values. Apologize for that. And these first value is going to be asterisk at soft tab no file tab 32768. Additionally, I'm going to do the same thing. We'll change this to hard no file 32768. Once I have that, I'm going to shift colon, and down at the bottom you'll see the colon show up, and you're going to do right quit, and that is going to apply that to our file. So this is actually taking a lot longer than I anticipated, so I'm going to stop this, and I'm going to actually change this to nat to make this copy a little bit faster. Wait till that comes back up. You shouldn't have this copy issue on your own domain. Let's go check IP address. My IP address has changed, so I need to do this. 142.128. Go ahead to yes. Much better. So once that's done, I'm going to swap this back. And if you're familiar with VMware, all I did was change the network settings to share an IP address with the host, and that way the VM or virtual machine and I are on the same instant subnet versus this, which is actually pulling from my home network, and it's basically having to go from my computer to my Wi-Fi router back to this computer. So we streamlined some things. Now that we have that, what I want to do is in order to ensure we have everything, let's go ahead and do an update. So DNF sudo DNF update -y. And what y is basically going to say accept all updates from here. While that's running, I want to move away from the VM and actually go to this SSH. So I want to SSH into the server. It makes it easier to copy and paste commands. So I'm going to SSH TAK admin at the IP address, and I press enter. And while that is running, I need to install extra packages for Enterprise Linux. I gotta wait till this finishes in the background though. So I'm going to go ahead and type in the command as sudo DNF install epal-release, and then I'm going to wait in the background until that completes. So what I may do is a little bit of editing magic if I'm good, and should get back to you here shortly. So that install is complete. Let's go ahead and execute this. Reason I had to wait is you cannot have two tasks running at the same time. I'm going to go ahead and hit yes. Now I'm technically done with this, so let me go ahead and log out of that. All right, now that we have extra packages for Linux installed, what we need to enable is Code Ready Builder, I believe it is called. So let's go back to my website and let's go and look at the guide. And there's a command or repository. Kind of skips my mind because normally I build my servers on Red Hat. So I'm going to copy this command. So sudo dnf config manager /set -enabled power tools. So let me go ahead and right click, which will paste that onto my terminal. Now that's my Windows settings. You may have to press paste or Control V. Go ahead and enable that. There's no feedback. All right. Next, we're going to install PostgreSQL. So if you go to postgresql.org and hit download, select Linux and Red Hat Rocky Alma. Now, doesn't matter what version, make sure you select the right platform, so version 8. What we need is this first command here, and then we'll need the second one later. So let's go ahead and paste that. And while that's running, let's go ahead and copy this and paste that. That'll be it. All right, so let's paste that. And once this is done, let's go ahead and perform another system update. The reason we're performing another system update is we've installed some binaries, or not binaries, some extra repositories. So we've installed epal and Postgres. Let's go ahead and update our cache. So sudo dnf install, not install, update. And I'm going to go ahead and press Y again. That way I can bypass anything. All right. Now that I have done that, what we need to install before we install the TAK server is Java. So I'm going to do sudo dnf install java-17-open jdk-devel and press enter. Looks like it's going to be about 83 packages, so I'm going to press yes to install and let that run. And what this is going to install Java. So before, the TAK server would install Java during the installation, but I think it was around version 4.8, Java had to be installed before the actual TAK server. So keeping with that new tradition or sequence, we're going to install Java, and then after this, we're going to install the GPG key. So if you remember, we have our two files here. So I'm going to do sudo rpm --import TAK server public key. And that's going to install the TAK server public key so that we trust installers that are provided by the TAK.gov site. Now that we have that, let's go ahead and install the TAK server. So I'm going to do sudo dnf install TAK server 5.1. Sorry for that. And looks like it's going to be 149 packages, about 1.2 gigs of updates. So I'm going to go ahead and install that. And while that is running, we'll do some movie editing magic, and we'll see you when it's done. Almost done. Now, after this is done, we need to run a check for SE Linux. So we're going to go ahead and scroll down to installation instructions. And there is a installer I'm looking for, which is this right here. We're going to do this one right here. Go ahead and hit yes. Okay, now that we have that, we're going to do cd /opt/TAK, and we're going to run our apply-se linux.shell. And what this is going to do is secure our TAK server and anything else. Okay, now that that is done, what we're going to do is we're going to create our certificate authorities for our TAK server. So one of the things about TAK is that you need to go into the TAK user in order to modify anything within the TAK directory. So to demonstrate that, we're going to do ls-tak-l, and you will notice that everything in this directory is owned by TAK. So we're going to do sudo su TAK, and that is going to put us into the TAK user account. And I can type who am I, and I can see that I'm in the TAK user. If I type in pwd, I can see that I'm in the opt TAK directory. What we need to do is we need to go into the search directory. So we're going to do cd /opt TAK certs and make sure we're here. Within the search directory, we have a file called the cert-metadata.sh and some scripts. The first thing we need to do is edit that cert metadata script. In here, we have some values that we need to edit. There are country, state, city, organization, organizational unit. So let's go ahead and edit and delete this. So we're going to state. Currently, I'm residing in California, so I will do California, and city, San Diego. San Diego. Notice that for San Diego, I encased it with double quotes. You could do single quotes. I just did double quotes. But anytime you have two letters or two words, you are going to put them in quotations. Organizations, we'll do my TechNet. And for organizational unit, I will just put that as TAK. Down below, you'll see we have a value C, pass, and pass. We can keep those the same or change them. For this demo, I'm just going to keep them the same. So I'm done editing. I'll press escape. I'm going to do shift : and WQ down here at the bottom, and that's going to write and quit that. Next, we're going to create our root certificate authority for our public and private key infrastructure and environment. So to do so, we're going to do /make root CA, and if I press enter, it's going to prompt me to type in a name. Additionally, if you don't want to do that, you can press Control-C, and you can actually go back to the same command, do --CA-name, and type in a name. My typical naming standard is system, what it is, and an identifying number. So this is TAK, this is the root CA, and the first root CA. I'll press enter. Now that I have my root CA, I need to create an intermediate CA. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the .make cert script, and I'm going to type in CA afterwards. Just like the root, it's going to prompt me to enter a name, or if I press again Control-C and I up, I can type in the name here. So I'm going to do TAK ID CA-01. And what this is doing is creating not a single tier, but a dual or two-tiered PKI environment, so that we have a root certificate authority who then signed and issued out an intermediate certificate authority who can sign certificates on the behalf of the root. Additionally, here it says, do we want to move some files around so that all future server and client certificates are signed by this new CA? So we wanted to type in yes to enable that. Now we need to actually create a certificate for our TAK server. So we're going to do the same command, make cert, and you can tab it out. That way it pulls out the command server. And to make things simple, I'm just going to do TAK server. Okay. And the reason I'm doing TAK server is that in a configuration file, the core config, it references the key store for being TAK server. You could change this, but for simplicity's sake and for this demo, we'll leave it at TAK server. Now, I'm going to put a space. So within that, it created a new directory called files. And if I actually go into files, we will see that we have new files or certificates that were created. So we have our intermediate, we have our trust or root, which is basically that root CA and our TAK server. What we need to do is now edit our core config. So I'm going to go back to OPT TAK, and within there, remember that core config? We need to edit this file here, coreconfig.example.xml. So I'm going to do vi coreconfig.example.xml. And within there are a lot of values, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to comment one of them out because I really don't use it. So I'm going to press insert and follow the same schema as I'm going to do the little less than exclamation dash dash, and I'm going to do the same on the other end. Now I'm going to use the arrow keys. I'm going to scroll all the way down to the security element. Should be coming up here shortly. And within the security element, we have the TLS. What I need to do is replace trustor-root with trustor-TAK ID CA-01, or the intermediate CA name that we made during our install. That's it. That's the only value you need to change right now. So I'm going to go ahead and escape, right quit, and I'm going to exit out of the TAK user account. From here, we need to enable the TAK server. So we're going to do sudo systemctl enable TAK server. What that's going to do is enable the TAK server service. Next, we're actually going to start it. Oops, password is wrong. So I'm going to replace enable with start. And what I'm looking for is I'm going to look for a particular log to be created and read. So from here, I'm in the TAK directory. I'm going to go to cd/opt TAK logs, where I could have did cd logs. And I'm looking for this TAK server messaging log. Oh, there we go. So now I'm going to do sudo tail-f TAK server messaging.log. And this is going to output all the basically what the TAK server is doing for its startup. All right, almost there. We see servers started, and we see TAK server version 5.1 release.40. So once I see that, I can go ahead and exit out of there. And now that I have that, I need to create an administrative certificate. So I'm going to go back into sudo su TAK. I'm going to go into that search directory again, and I'm going to create a client certificate for as our admin, or for our admin. So I'm going to type in .make cert client, and I'm going to call this web admin. It's going to create our web admin cert. Now that I've created that, what I need to do is I need to designate this admin cert, or this certificate, as our admin. So we're going to type in java space -jar. We're going to do /opt TAK /utils /user manager.jar cert mod space -A, and then the path to our certificate, which is opt TAK certs files, and at web admin.pem, and press enter. So what this has done is now taken that certificate and made it or designated as an admin. Now we need to move that from Linux to Windows. So a couple things here. So we're going to exit. I'm going to go back into my directory, my home directory, and I'm going to do sudo copy, and I'm just going to do it verbose, so -v, opt, TAK, certs, files. And what I need to do is move the trustor TAK ID CA01.p12 to my home directory /TAK admin / and I'm going to rename it so CA cert.p12. Notice that it copied that file and with that file name. So I press ls, there it is right there. Now I'm going to press up arrow, and I'm actually going to replace the trustor TAK with web admin p12. So I should have two p12s here. Good. Now there's a problem. They are owned by root, and I can't copy anything from root because root is disabled. I didn't establish the root username or password. So we need to change the ownership. So sudo change own -r recursive TAK admin :TAK admin, or replace that with your user account that you did. And we're going to replace the permissions in our directory. If I type ls-l again, we now have it owned by TAK admin. What I'm going to do is, let's go ahead and go back into this directory. So I'm going to hold left shift, open a terminal, and I'm going to drag and drop this, if I can get it to work, into this guy. Doesn't want to work. I think I did it as a terminal. There we go. And let me zoom in, make sure it's right. And now we're going to do scp TAK admin at the IP address of my server, :, the little squiggly line or tilde or whatever the heck it is, /, and I want to copy all the p12. So I'm going to do *.p12 space and then a period afterwards. And that's going to say this working directory. And in the background, you should see the two new p12s be copied over. And there they go. Now that we have that, let's go ahead and import that into our browser. So I'm going to right click. I'm going to open up Firefox. I'm going to install that certificate. I'm going to type in, if you didn't see me, I went to the options settings, typed insert under find, under view certificates, under your certificates, let's import that web admin CA p12. Go ahead and enter the password that we set in our cert meta, which in this case is ATAK. If you need to see it, it's right here. Hit sign in, hit OK. And before we even do that, I forgot to modify the firewall of the TAK server. So if I do sudo firewall -command or cmd, all one word, space --list all, we're going to see that this is the public zone, or the zone that's active as well, and the allowed ports and protocols. We need to add some ports in here in order to connect our clients as well as manage our TAK server. So we're going to do sudo firewall -command --zone equals public --add -port. We're going to do 8089/TCP, and that is going to be our secure messaging from our client to server port --add -port 8443/TCP, and that is going to be our API port on our TAK server --permanent. Now that we have that, if I actually view the firewall, they're not there. We actually need to reload the firewall to apply our settings. So I'm going to do reload. And once that's reloaded, we can go ahead and view, and we see that our two ports are here. So let's go ahead and try to access our TAK server. HTTPS, IP address of our server. And what we're going to do is potential risk, blah, blah, blah. Let's go ahead and hit advanced and accept the risk and continue. Here we can go ahead and see our certificate and click OK, and click OK here. Now we are in our TAK server. Now let's get a client. Well, in order to get a client connected, we need to create a client certificate. So back in the TAK server, let's create a client certificate. So sudo su TAK. Let's change the directory back into the search file, TAK certs. We'll do that make cert.sh client WinTAK01. So let's do that. Now that we created our client cert, we need to actually, in order for us to manage it, we need to do an additional task. So remember how we did the user manager.jar? We need to do the same thing, but not with the administrator portion. So we're going to do java-jar /opt/tag/utils/user manager with a capital U and M.jar. Same thing, cert mod, and we're going to do the location of that certificate, which is opt tag certs files wintac01.pem. Okay, now we have that. And just like we did before, we're going to move that file. So I'm just going to up arrow. And I'm going to replace webadmin with WinTAC. And I'm going to replace it in here. So if you want to type out that command again, it's sudo copy -v /opt tag certs files WinTAC p12 home. Oh, I forgot to put 01. Should have called me out on it, people. All right, now we need to change the ownership. So sudo change own -r tag admin or my user. And then home tag admin. Now we're going to go back into this other terminal and copy again. I'm just going to do the same command again to copy all the P12s. And we have that. Now let's get WinTAC. Once WinTAC is loaded, easiest thing to do is click on the red cloud down at the bottom, manage server connections, add an item. I'm just going to put demo server address 192.168.178.186. I'm going to install the certificate authority, and I'm going to browse to and select the CA cert.p12. That is, if you recall, the truststore -tac-id.ca or -ca-01. And enter the password. And our client certificate, we're going to browse and we're going to select the WinTAC01 certificate we just created. And when I click OK, it should green up. And what I can do is once I'm in my server, I can go to the hamburger menu or the menu, go to monitoring, and go to client dashboard, and I can see that I have a client connected. Now right now it says last report 1969. Oh, there we go. So pulled a report from me. That's good. And that is our first client that is connected. Now, what we can do is we can do some additional things. Let me go back here. Let's say one as an administrator, and especially as a user, that is too many steps to do. So what we can do is we can enable certificate auto enrollment. What we need to do is open the menu, go to configuration, security, and authentication. And what we're going to do is I'm just going to copy this real quick. So right click copy. I'm going to go to edit security. I'm going to click on enable certificate enrollment, tax services CA. I'm going to paste that there. However, I'm going to go and delete this truststore tag. So I should have certs, files, the TAC ID CA01, but I'm going to do -signing and then leave the JKS at the end, and I'm going to put in the password. Additionally, 30 days is a good start. You can put 45, 60, 90, whatever you need, but by default, your intermediate certificate authority is going to issue certs for 2 years, meaning your tax server cert is good for 2 years, and your root, which was the first one, is good for 10 years. We won't go over certificate round robin, or not really round robin, but renewal. But just make sure that your validity days do not exceed your issuing days. So 30, 180, kind of cutting it, but we'll stick at 30. At the end of 30 days, your client, your certificate will be invalid and your user will be prompted to enter this password again. And that's just what happens every 30 days on either ATAK or WinTAK. The user will have to re-enter the password. So let's go ahead and hit submit. And from here, let's go to the hamburger menu, administration, manage users, and you notice we have web admin and WinTAK01. Let's go ahead and add a new user, WinTAK02, and give it a password. And for this demo, I'm just going to use anon, so I'm going to go ahead and drag it and create new user. Otherwise, if I did not drag it, anon will be the default. Anon means anonymous. Okay. Now, one thing you will notice is if we go into the TAK server and if I do sudo su TAK and I do a list of the contents within the certs files directory, you will notice there's not a WinTAK02. What happens is for certificate auto-enrollment, these certificates are actually stored in the database within the TAK server. So they're not stored here. So what we need to do additionally is we need to open up an additional port. And that port is going to be 8446. So I need to do the firewall command, sudo firewall command zone equals public dash dash add dash port 8446 slash TCP per minute. And then I need to reload the firewall again. Now that I have done that, we can go back to our client. I'm going to delete this one. And what I'm going to do is we only need to do one thing. So demo, I'm going to do the server IP address. And it's not really one thing. The end users need to click on Enroll for Client Certificate, click on Install Certificate Authority, browse that ca.cert, and then use authentication. And once they do that, they can hit OK, be prompted for the username again. And down at the bottom, we should see it enrolling for a client certificate. And if it greened up, we are now connected. So if I go back to monitoring client dashboard, you will notice that I have WinTAK02 and last resort, let it ping and update. But we now have a certificate. Additionally, if we go to administrative client certificates, that certificate I said that was in the database, here it is. You can see when it was issued, the device ID, expiration date, effective date, and then if we revoke it. So what is revoking? Revoking is if I want to revoke a certificate prematurely before its validity. So this one looks like it expires July 19th, basically 30 days from now. If I need to revoke it early, I need to select revoke. And it says, do you want to revoke? You must restart. So go ahead and hit OK. We'll see our server is now disconnected, or our client, and we need to restart the TAK server. So sudo systemctl restart TAK server. And while that's running, I'm going to go to view the log to make sure I got no errors. So sudo tail-f /opt/tak/logs/TAK server -messaging.log. And again, what I'm looking for is that the server has started and will tell me what release and version it is. And then any clients that are going to connect will connect. Now remember, this is WinTAK02 and we just revoked its cert. So the expected outcome is that the client WinTAK should not be able to connect to the server again. So we see the server started. I have my TAK server version and release here, and the server or the client is connected, and we get this connection status. Additionally, if I go into my browser and go to client monitoring, I will see that that user is connected. That should not happen. So what we need to do is we actually need to update some settings within our core configuration. So if I go back in here, I'm going to Control C. We're going to go into sudo su tak, and we need to go into directory op tak. And if I do this, so I'm going to cat, so display the contents of core config.example.xml. I'm actually going to look for one line. We're going to type in the pipe, which is shift, and then the straight up and down line, which is above enter. I'm going to grep or search, and I'm looking for CRL, all lowercase. If I press enter, I spelled example wrong. Example. There we go. Okay. So what I need to do is I need to copy this line right here. And what we're going to do is we're going to edit our running core config right now. So we're going to do vi core config.xml, capital C in both core and config. And where this is placed is it's placed down in the security piece. So we have security, and we have TLS. So at the end of TLS, we need to delete this line, go after that line and paste this CRL. Additionally, I need to replace CA with our intermediate CA name, so it's TAK.id.ca01. And I need to close the TLS element again. So I'm going to go ahead and just to clean it up, I'm going to tab this one out, tab here, and I'm going to do /TLS. Now back to the certificate enrollment piece. That right here where it says TAK server CA config, we need to add two more values. So I'm going to do press end, go to the very end, and right before this slash, I'm going to do a space, capital CA key equals, and we'll do quotations, and it's going to be located here. So we're going to have to type in the full path. So /opt TAK certs files TAK ID CA-01. Remember to replace that with your certificate, intermediate certificate authority you created at the beginning. Additionally, our other one is capital CA certificate equals, and it is the exact same value. So I'm going to right click, or I'm going to highlight and copy this and paste this here. Okay, now let's scroll all the way up to the top, and we're looking for the auth element. So right here we have auth, x509 groups equals true, x509 add anonymous equals true. We need to add another one in here. Where'd it go? And we're going to do insert x509 check revocation equals true. Can't spell today. And then I'm going to escape, and I'm going to right quit. Additionally, we can run ./validate config, and if everything validates, it's good. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you if it doesn't validate, or config.xml. Let's go ahead and replace x509. I'm just going to misspell it. Right? And run that command again, and you will notice that, hey, there's an error. It says this value or attribute does not exist. So let's go back and edit that and fix that. Apologize for the tones. I'm going to exit, and I'm going to do sudo systemctl restart TAK server. Additionally, I'm going to view the log, so sudo tail takf /op tak logs tak server -messaging .log. Okay, now remember we revoked this cert that WinTAK in the background is connected as WinTAK02. So we should see that we get a new error on our log that the cert has been revoked and that a client is trying to connect with a revoked certificate. What's going to happen is that WinTAK is going to flash green and red, whenever. Okay, I missed it, but right here you see that an attempt has been used to use attempt to use a revoked certificate, and then it tells me the certificate that is uh, that is being used or presented to the server. If I go to the server and check the client monitoring, I can see that no clients are connected, and I see that this is flapping back and forth. So it will turn green. If I go to monitoring, it's not really doing anything, and that this server is just continuing to kick it back and forth. So let's go ahead and delete that. You saw it kind of flicker green and red beforehand. So what about WinTAK01? How do I revoke that? So let's go ahead and connect again with WinTAK01. So I'm going to install the certificate authority and install the client certificate, which is WinTAK01. And I'm going to connect. Green up, I'm good. I'm going to go, oops, wrong browser. I'm going to go here. See that WinTAK01 is connected. And this is how you revoke it. So let's go ahead and exit out of there. We need to go sudo su-tak. Go back to our search directory. And within there, if you didn't notice last time, there's a revoke cert.sh. So to run that, we do revoke cert. We need to, this next one, identify what cert we want to revoke. So opt tag cert, certs, carts, certs, files, / WinTAK01. And then after this is going to be the CA key and the CA. So in this case, it's going to be opt tag certs files / WinTAK, TAK ID CA01. After that, we're going to do the same command over again. TAK certs files TAK ID CA01. And if I entered this correctly, I should get the cert to be revoked. So revoke cert, the name of the cert that we're going to revoke, its full path, the actual certificate key, or the issuing CA's key, and then the issuing CA that signed this one. So I press enter. We see that it's revoking the certificate. It updated our config. And what we need to do is we need to reboot the TAK server. So I'm going to exit. We're going to sudo systemctl restart TAK server. And after that, let's go ahead and view our log and see if I revoked that certificate. You go back to here, we'll refresh this a little bit early. TAK server's not ready. All right, almost there. All right, it says it started. Let's go ahead and reboot or refresh this browser. Do it again. There we go. Database not available. Still starting. There we go. And WinTAK is not connected just yet. Oh, look at that. certificate's been revoked. Okay, so it's going to flap through that. Now, I'm going to go ahead and delete that on there. Now, the one thing you'll notice, or you need to notice, is that I didn't delete any of the accounts. Okay, so what can I do is if I want, I can get a new cert for WinTAK02 because I didn't really delete it. So if I go in here and try to do it, I'm going to get a new cert. So demo. Oops, can't type today. 1.6. Let's go ahead and try to connect with WinTAK02, get a new cert. WinTAK02. See that? Greened up. Let's go look at our browser. If I go to Administrative Client Certificates, I see a second cert, and I see that I'm connected. Now, I can go to Administrative. What I can do is, if I want to delete this user, I have to delete the user and then revoke the certificate. So if I delete the user's still going to be connected because he has a valid cert. So we need to delete or revoke his cert. So go here, we'll do revoke, click OK. We see he's got disconnected. And if he tried to connect again, so let me actually go ahead and do this. We're going to try to connect again. So demo 192.168. We're going to click here, do the same process all over again. Now this may connect because I didn't restart the TAK server, but we'll see. Unauthorized access. Try again. Maybe I just typed the password wrong. Nope. Let's go back here. Oh, look at that. We got an error. Remove certificate. Okay, so that's because we've revoked it. And now we're getting an error. All right. That's how you get rid of that. Now, additionally, what happens if I delete? Let's do this. Where am I going to do? Let's go here. Oh, let's go to here. Manage users. Let's go ahead and delete this guy. Okay. The other thing is we deleted him. We also revoked his cert. So even if I try to connect with the one cert that I did, it's not going to work because that cert is revoked. So just giving you guys some scenarios. So install certificate authority, ATAK, install my client certificate. So we revoked this one. We haven't renewed it, but I'm going to try to connect with it. Greened up. Going to be, let's go in there. It's revoked. It's just flipping through back and forth between red and green. Okay. So let's actually renew that certificate. So I'm going to go in here. I'm going to go sudo su tak atak, oops, cd opt tak certs. Let's make a new one. Certs with the S. So /make cert client. And what did I say? WinTAK01. It's going to say, do I want to overwrite it? Let's overwrite it. We revoked the cert. Cert's no longer valid. Let's overwrite all the details. So I type in yes. I need to also move that cert. So let me exit sudo copy-v op tak cert files WinTAK01 p12. Apologize for that sound again. I'm going to copy it to home TAK admin. And I need to change the permissions. So sudo, I remember that. Let's go ahead and change it just in case. I doubt it. Let's go. Let's copy WinTag01.p12. Let's go back here. Let's copy it again and overwrite it. All right, now let's connect. So demo 2. Oops. Let's click here. Install our CA cert again. Install our client certificate for WinTag01. And connect. And click here. Oops, wrong one. All right. That's me. Oops. Close this. Just give me some weird errors. Bump, bump, bump. Once WinTag's closed, let's go ahead and open it back up. Make sure that this is not an old one. And server connection screened. Nope. All right. Now the other thing is if I go back here and refresh, I wonder if I actually overwrote that file. So you get to have the fun joy of me sudo su tak cd optak certs files ls tak l WinTag. Let's look at the time, 8:23. Yep. Oh, I need to overwrite it. So exit. Let's go ahead and remove WinTag01. Let's go ahead and copy it back. ls tag l. There we go. And the date looks right, so 8:26. You go back up here. If I recall correctly, I think the time might have been. Did I go too far? Yeah, I did. Where is it? You get to see the troubleshooting that I go through. Yeah. That says 8:24. And then this one says 8:26. Might have been the same one. Let's look at our certificate. So sudo su tak c op tak certs files. And let's view the CRL. So open SSL CRL, and I think it's in TAK ID CA01.CRL. Okay, let's go info. Oops, not info, I think it's text. There we go. So we have revoke cert for 940 and Fox Charlie 6 Charlie. We're going to do open SSL. Let's look at PKCS12. We'll go info, tech in, and we'll do WinTag01.p12. And we should look for the serial number. Should be a different serial number. WinTag. Oh. Trying to remember where I typed. Again, certificate. Oh, you know what? We need to delete something. I think that's why. Yeah, because we're using the same certificate in TAK. So if I go into here, SSL certs, let's go ahead and delete everything minus this one. If you didn't notice, there's already a cert called WinTech, so it probably referenced that last one. So we'll go here. Let's keep a log open. So see TAK logs, tail, TAK-F, TAK server messaging.log. Let's keep that running. Let's go in here, make sure that's there, and let's copy that cert over. Oops, wrong password. Permission denied, so we need to go back in here, exit real quick, sudo change on r TAK admin home, can't spell, TAK admin, change own, can't spell. It's also 1:30 in the morning, so I'm a little bit tired. Sudo tail TAK-F/op TAK logs TAK server messaging.log. All right, let's go ahead and copy that over. Make sure we got a good one. And let's try to connect. Demo. Let's go ahead and, oops, desktop. Install our client certificate, WinTag, which is our new one. And let's connect. Greened up. Set client subscription to, we've got a new one. And if we go here, yes. See, new certificate. All right. There is a problem though. That user we deleted from here, but how is he connected there? So when you do soft search, which is basically what that was, WinTag01 is a soft cert. You're manually generating that cert and passing it to the client. In order for you to manage that certificate within the GUI, you need to actually add that certificate using the user manager. So we're going to do sudo TAK java-jar op TAK utils user manager dot jar cert mod, and then the path to the cert, which is opt TAK certs files wintag01.pem. We don't need to do anything. We don't need to restart. If I refresh this, hey, look at that. I can see the user now. And if I go to monitoring, I can still manage and see the user. So in a nutshell, that completes building a TAK server. Just to summarize, what we did is we went to TAK.gov, downloaded our PGP public GPG key, our TAK server RPM installer. We additionally installed Rocky Linux and imported the Postgres installer binaries. On top of the Postgres, we installed extra packages for Linux. We installed Java 17 and we installed check policy. After we installed those prerequisite binaries or applications, we installed the TAK server. We applied SE Linux. We then created our PKI environment by editing the cert metadata, creating our root using the make root CA script. We then made our intermediate CA by using the make cert with the CA switch. And then we made a server certificate using the make cert server certificate. Post all of that, we edited the core config.example.xml to update the TLS trust store from truststore-root to trustor dash the CA name. We then exited out, restarted or enabled the TAK server service and restarted it, monitored the logs for any errors, and then we went back and created our web admin certificate, used the Java user manager jar to invoke or elevate that certificate to an administrator using the -A. On top of that, we created a client certificate using the same command, make cert, with the client switch, and then we moved those files from Linux to Windows. We then installed our certificate authority onto our client, being WinTAK. Same process as for ATAK as well. And then we installed that soft cert certificate. On top of that, we showed you how to enable certificate auto enrollment by actually going into the configuration and security configuration and adding the certificate enrollment values. On top of that, in order to add a user, we went to manage users and created WinTAK02. Using certificate enrollment, we enrolled our client to WinTAK02. And then finally, we showed you how to revoke client certificates from the TAK server by updating the CRLs and restarted the services and went through a couple scenarios. That's basically it for this first video. I hope that you were able to follow along. Otherwise, many of the topics and procedures and sequence we went over in the guide on Let's Build a TAK Server 5.0 update. The reason it says 5.0 is that I had a previous older guide that covered the 4.x installation. So as it gets closer to 2 a.m., I hope that you all enjoyed this. I apologize if it's long, and I'm also sorry that you got a couple error beeps throughout that process. But now, hopefully, you have been able to build and provision a TAK server at a minimum and to onboard some clients. Until next time, thank you.